All right, hello. I am Jason. I use he, him pronouns. We are going to play the game Alien, the RPG from Free Legion. It's a Swedish company, and this game's been out for about a year or so. Just the other day, it won the gold medal at the Ennies for Best Game of the Year. I like it a lot. I hope these guys do too. Um, this is going to be this is part of the Gauntlet gaming community. We play a lot of indie games, a lot of story games. I don't know if Aliens would count as either one of those, but it's a good game. And if you're interested in what we do, you can check out our forums on gauntlet-rpg.com. And if you want to see some of our videos, there's a zillion of them. There's probably hundreds of them at this point. You can go to YouTube, click in Gauntlet RPG, and you should get a list of all kinds of different games that you can watch. We are going to play what's called a cinematic scenario. This is a tight scenario with heightened tension, and it has a 3-act structure. The characters have personal agendas. In addition to just trying to survive, they're trying to achieve something. They kind of keep it secret, but by that 3rd act, probably those agendas are going to be right up in our faces, and it'll be pretty apparent what they're trying to do. We're going to do 5 sessions. This is our first session. This scenario is one that I made up myself. It's called The Hunt. Let's go around the table and just introduce yourself. Don't worry about your characters. We'll introduce them in play, but introduce yourself with your pronouns and which Alien movie is your favorite. I will start and say that I'm Jason. I use he, him, and my favorite Alien movie is changed in the last year. I went back and I watched Alien 3. I watched the assembly cut, and this is a movie I always hated. I always hated Alien 3. I would tell everybody how much I hated it, but the assembly cut really wowed me, and I'm putting it at the top of my list. So I think it's Paul. It's your turn to go first on this. So tell us about yourself and what's your favorite Alien movie?
Hi, I'm Paul, he, him. I've been on the Gauntlet now for probably 18 months, if not 2 years. And my favourite Alien movie is Aliens. Because it's game over, man.
Yep. And Jamie?
Hi, so Jamie, they, them pronouns. Yeah, I have to say my favorite Alien. I'm so intrigued now with this assembly cut you're talking about, though. So I'm going to definitely check it out. But currently my favorite is Aliens because I really loved that switch of the character really becoming like a full-on character for Ripley. It was really great.
Yeah. I think, part of my enjoyment of the assembly cut, she has that 3rd act in the 3rd movie too. I think it finalizes her story. And,
oh, nice.
Let's not talk about the 4th one because they bring her back and it's a travesty. But anyways, let's go to Alan.
My name is Alan. I use he, him. For me, you see, it's about the first one you saw and when you saw it. So, I remember seeing Aliens as a Callow undergraduate. And so Aliens made a big impression. The first movie made a big impression on me and shaped a lot of my view of how I should play Traveller for the next 20 years.
Okay. And Will?
I'll be honest, whenever you ask me that question, I'm going to say either Alien or Aliens. So since everyone's already said Aliens, I'll go with Alien as well. But I think my favorite thing is actually Alien Isolation.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Has everybody played that? Anyone played that?
I watched other people play it.
Oh, okay.
I haven't.
All right.
No, my partner got it. We tried to play it. And it was too scary. But I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Will tells me that I ran a session of a different Aliens game that was in fact Alien Isolation, though I've never played it.
Right. Yeah, it's I played it. I played it twice because I love it so much. And the first time it took me like 9 months to play it because I could play for a week and then I had to stop for like a month, and then I get the courage to go back, and finally I finished it. And then the second time's not so bad because you know what's coming. But okay, so let's talk a little bit about content, safety, and theme. So theme-wise, this is going to be a survival horror game primarily. this scenario, I have injected a fair amount of action and adventure. And the way I like to think of it is it's kind of a Frankenstein's monster of aliens, and also Jurassic Park. You will see a lot of my use of that movie ideas and themes, and flat out just copying and pasting things over from Jurassic Park in this too. Content-wise, we are in the year 2185. This is a few years after the events of Aliens and Alien 3. The xenomorphs are still unknown to the general public. But there has been a few years, and there may have been some developments. Certain parties secretly may have been playing around with the xenomorphs in the preceding couple years. We're playing in that alien universe. This is a grim, low-tech, lo-fi universe. Everything's run down and clunky and old. I like to think of it as, imagine as we developed a spacefaring civilization, but we're still using 1980s level tech and design. There are governments, but they have only tenuous holds on all of the frontier systems. They try to maintain some sort of order and public safety, but are oftentimes trumped by the corporations that can come in at any point, use their money and their influence, corrupt any local government officials, and basically have their way with the people and the systems. Most everybody, the 99%, have very little. They're scrounging, they're scavenging, they're trying to just get through the day, get one more job to stay alive. But the ultra rich have, several exponential levels, more technology, more resources. As gritty and grimy as it is for most everyone, the rich are living in a high-tech super society, a whole different world really that they live in. Safety-wise, this is an alien game. If you are sensitive about body horror, if you're sensitive about gruesome death, sudden death, this may not be the show to watch. Our players know that their characters may die. And if they do, we'll have an NPC get promoted to a PC, and they'll just keep on playing. But that is on the table. We are using safety tools. We are using the X card. If anyone feels uncomfortable about anything, they'll put an X up on the screen, and we will rewind, and we will try to work around that objectionable material. We're using lines and veils. We have a handout on our Roll20 where we've listed things that we're uncomfortable with. Lines are things that we absolutely don't want to see in our game, and veils are things that we prefer to have alluded to or have behind a screen or off screen, things that are not right out in our face in the action. What we have, let me review what we have. So we have a line on sexual assault and harm to children, and we have a veil on consensual sex and graphic torture. Okay. I think we're ready to get started. One other thing, just you guys try to remind me too, at the end of the session, make sure, like I said, that I ask you whether we want to have this go public. Remind me to give you guys a chance to do your advancement. There's a little bit of experience system that we'll be using in this, simplified, but we'll be using it. And remind me to ask you if we feel like any of our buddies or rivals have changed over the course of our session. Okay. Our adventure begins with a black screen on the screen, I guess. And we hear kind of these low, deep tones of music, maybe like oboes, really long atonal droning sort of music. And we get a title, Alien, The Hunt. And these like dissonant violins come in and start screeching, on top of that atonal music. And those violins build to sort of a crescendo, and that screen transitions to a space station. And we're looking, it looks like we're looking out a window of a space station. And now there's just sort of a kind of a pleasant, kind of meandering violin melody playing. And we're looking down on a blue planet, or maybe it's a moon. And then there's the sound, the click, 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 click of sort of like a dot matrix printer kicking out some text. And some words appear on our screen. And they say, Meredith Vickers Space Station. Function, animal research and colonial support. Location, Frontier. Orbiting privately owned moon of Nublar. Owner, Peter Whalen V. President and CEO, Weyland-Yutani Corporation. The screen changes. We see inside a Cheyenne dropship. Cheyenne dropships are the dropship that you see in Aliens. Most of them are built for the military. And the military versions are very run down. They're rickety. They're utilitarian. They're dinged up. They're just bare steel. The most minimal padding. They're banged up from usage. They're cold inside. When they're flying around, they shake and rattle. They're not optimally designed and built. But you're in a real nice one. This one looks like it's right off the production line. It's all chrome and leather seats. Everything's shiny. Everything looks new. It's nice and warm in here. When it moves, it feels solid. And you're sitting in the cargo area in the back of this Cheyenne dropship, and you're each in your dropped seats. You're strapped in, and you're sitting in like a half circle. You're kind of looking across at each other, and little cameras have dropped down from the ceiling, kind of like when you're on like a commercial flight. When the cameras come down, and they're showing the Weyland-Yutani logo, which looks like this. Where is that? The Weyland-Yutani logo, building better worlds. And you're each wearing, you have your gear with you. Maybe you're wearing it. Maybe you have it in the bag that you've stowed, in an overhead compartment. You have your gear. You have a bag with like a change of clothes and your personal items. But otherwise, you're strapped in here in the seat, and you're wearing a headset. And you hear over the headset the calm voice of a pilot, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. And then your stomach flies up into your throat as the dropship plummets away from the space station towards the moon below. The whole ship starts to rattle. The engine is screaming. And the camera above you switches from the Weyland-Yutani logo to show an external shot of the spaceship that you're falling away from. And it's a mid-sized space station, Meredith Vickers, and it's got like a central area for for living and work, and it's got like these arms that go out and have 4 different hangars. And there's a long spire at the bottom of it that ends in this sort of bulbous area. And I don't know, I guess none of you guys are really engineers, but you know enough about space stations and stuff. You know that that's usually where the reactor would be. They put the reactor well away from the rest of the station because of radiation, because of explosions. All kinds of bad things can happen with fusion reactors if you're not careful. And let me catch up with my notes here. The camera comes back.
Noah,
go ahead.
Just wanted to say that Noah is looking very sick as you go down. He does not like being in a dropship.
Right. And the camera comes in and sees each of you, and it moves in close, and we go from person to person. And we're going to go around the table and introduce what we see of your character. And for each of you, as it shows you on the screen, it has that mechanical keyboard, that dot matrix printout your name and your title. So tell us what it says when it shows you. And then like Will just touched on, how does it seem you're handling this high velocity, high G-force drop? And I think it's Jamie, it's your turn to go first. What do we see when we see your character?
So Sitka has long dark hair. I guess in the drop, the hair is like starting to shift upwards because it's that fast a drop. But she's smiling. In fact, she's trying to hide how much she's smiling, but she's having a good time. And she's looking towards the others and winks at Bryant.
And what does it say on the screen, when it types out, your text?
It says, Pilot Sitka Ramos.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Alan, the screen comes around to you. What do we see?
I think, in that kind of dot matrix yellow print across, we see Bryant, Captain Darius Parks' personal yacht. And I think I'm catching Darius's eye, across the seating, as if to say, remember this? It's been a while since I've done this.
Just kind of enjoy.
Because Bryant was previously a decorated Marine captain.
So you guys have had these drops, in rough circumstances in the past. All right. And then we move in. Will, what do we see for your character?
I think it comes across the screen as Dr. Noah Immelson, medical consultant. And it's Noah is he's like Lieutenant Gorman in the thing. He's holding on to the straps, and as you look, he fumbles in a pocket, pulls out like a little thing, looks at it, shakes it, and then pops the cap open and knocks it back, and then looks around and.
Yeah. And Paul, what do we see for your character?
So it scrolls across Darius Park, CEO of Darius Robotics. And I think you see Darius acknowledge Bryant, and he says, too long since one of these drops. As a spit on the pristine carpet of this dropship with a chewing tobacco, right greasy, dirty spit.
All right. And you're probably screaming. If you hear each other, you can only do it through screaming. Maybe it's more just, mouth reading lip reading than it is, actually hearing each other over the scream of the engine. But a little bit of time passes. It takes a good 6 to 8 hours to drop from space down to the surface. In game terms, this is called a shift. A shift is a unit of measurement that's 6 to 10 hours. So it's about, somewhere in there is how long it's going to take you. But about an hour after that initial, first rush of the drop, you're still, in your flight, but you've leveled out. The engines have kind of, they're still humming, but, it's not screaming. And, Noah, your stomach, you're probably feeling pretty mellow at this point. The drugs have kicked in, the buffeting isn't so bad. And, it's certainly at a point where you could speak to each other. The camera switches from the Weyland-Yutani logo, and this man comes onto the screen. You each immediately recognize that this is Peter Weyland V, the president and the CEO of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, and he is likely the richest man that has ever lived. This is his private moon that you're dropping down to right now. And he comes on the screen. He's sitting, looks like in like a command center, and he has several staff behind him. And one of them is like clearly like an executive assistant in a very nice suit. They have like a data pad that they're tapping away on. They've got like a throat mic and like an earbud that, they're listening in to something or other. And Weyland comes on and he says, I'm really sorry I couldn't be there to meet you when you arrived today, Darius. I had a little bit of business I had to take care of, and he kind of like side eyes the executive with a grimace, and the executive kind of like looks away to try to avoid his gaze. We had a little bit of an emergency, but we got it all under control now. Everything's good. I'm going to be flying down to join you guys in the morning. I want you to go ahead. My staff will get you on out to the chateau, have a good time, have some drinks, relax. I'll be there first thing. We'll start up our hunt. And then like you see the assistant in the background, like kind of like the universal sign that you're listening in on the earbud. They'll tap, tap it, and they'll lean in and say something to Waylon. And he looks at him again with an ugly look, and he goes, "Well, I got to go. Got something to take care of. Like I said, have a good time." And then the screen goes black again and returns to the Weyland-Yutani logo. Let's have a flashback to not so long ago and talk about how you got here. So Paul's character, Darius Park, is the CEO of, what was the name of your corporation again, Paul? I forget.
Darius Robotics.
Darius Robotics. He is the president and CEO of his company, and he, is on that he's in that rarefied air similar to Waylon. He's a step or two below. Waylon is the peak of the corporate exec, super rich, he's the Bezos of this world. Okay. And he, but Park's in that same range. He's in the same ballpark at least. And you had a bet with Waylon that you could get your product out before Weyland-Yutani's competing product, and you won. And because you won, Waylon has given you this invitation to come out to his private moon on the edge of space to have a hunt. And these hunts are famous amongst your set. He's known to find all of the alien species throughout human space and to, at great expense, capture them, bring them to this moon so that people like you can go out and kill them. And this is a great coup for you to get this invitation. You have traveled in cryo sleep for several weeks. This is way out there in the frontier. This is outside any governmental jurisdiction. This is completely private, completely secret. No one's going to come in and save you. And you have traveled on Darius's private ship, the Providence, and you were woken up by the computer, and you came in and you docked the ship into this hangar bay of this space station, the Meredith Vickers. You stepped out of your ship and were greeted by a hospitality executive, a Weyland-Yutani hospitality executive, who then led you through, quite quickly actually, and directly through the station to one of the other hangar bays where you got into the dropship, and that takes us back to where we're at right now. Let me show you a little bit of what I'm talking about on a map. Here's a little bit about the Meredith Vickers. In the upper left is the top view of the main level. So you landed here in this auxiliary hangar. You see my little ping? And you walked around this concourse. The main level has this ring all around it of this concourse that has windows on the outside, external, but also on the inside. So as you're walking along, you're able to look into the labs, which is this open lab area. And this is one of the places I'm stealing from Jurassic Park. When you watch Jurassic, I don't know if anybody's seen Jurassic Park recently, but when the kids, and I forget their names, the scientists, the archaeologists, actually, is archaeologist the right word? No. Who are people that study dinosaurs, dig up dinosaurs? What's the name for that?
Paleontologist?
Yeah. And so anyways, when they're going through and they're getting sort of the tour, they can see into the labs where they're monkeying around with the dinosaur eggs. So this is kind of like that, but you're walking along. So you're looking into these labs and you see some people working in there, and you walk by the veterinary care area, which is actually dark and doesn't seem to be actively being used. And you go along this corridor, and then you get to the dropship hangar, and you got in the dropship and you left. And this is kind of like what the corridor looks like. It has like these external windows. You can't see the internal windows, but they're similar. You know, a wall of windows that allows you to see into what's going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a observation check. It's a good chance to roll some dice, get them out on the table. Now, usually when you make a group roll, only one person will roll and then the others will assist. But for practice purposes, we're going to have everybody make this roll. So what I want you to do is open up your character sheet, click on the observation skill, no modifier, and submit it. All right, Sitka got a success. Will got nothing. Darius got nothing. What about Brian? I don't see Brian.
I think I've made the mistake of popping my character sheet window out into a separate window, so I think it's lost its connection. So hang on, I'll reopen it inside.
Okay.
Oh no, there it is.
All right, and Brian got nothing. So just one success and all that. All right.
Can I push? Would that
Well,
be...
usually you could, but on this roll, I'm gonna turn off that
okay.
function. So you guys, because you're not really, you're just like, you just arrived here. You're not really looking to like push yourself. You're just like, oh yeah, we're just walking along to the next place on our ride here, right? And so I will say that who got the success? Sitka. So Sitka, you notice that this hospitality executive is acting strangely. You know, you've seen this type before, and they're like the chattiest, most like, you know, charming. Like that's their job, is just to like take significant people from place to place and make them feel good. And this executive isn't doing any of that. They're just like no nonsense, leading you from place to place, no chit chat whatsoever. And they're moving along, and they even seem kind of a little bit nervous. Okay. So that brings us back to the present, and you're in the dropship, and a couple more hours have passed, and now the camera is showing an external view of showing the terrain below you, and you see the moon of Nublar, and you're approaching Nublar Park, and Nublar Park looks like this, and you're coming from west to east, flying over the park, and at a pretty high elevation, but you know the cameras allow you to see enough to kind of point out some things. First of all, on the west side of the park, there is a mountain range, and adjoining the park on the west side, there's a sheer cliff. And as you pass over over the park, you know, over this mountain range, you can see that there's a building kind of like on a shelf halfway up this cliff, a real nice looking building there. And you can see that there's like a tram that runs across the park. It's like an elevated tram. That's that purple line. And you can see that there's a high spire. That's this yellow thing in the middle. There's a spire that goes several hundred meters up, kind of towering over the other terrain. And this spire looks like this. And on top of the spire is another a tower, maybe 50 meters or so high, kind of like a cell phone tower-ish looking thing. And it is emanating some sort of electrical energy that kind of goes up, and it's part of it creates the apex of this dome of energy that goes over this park. There's this transparent but shimmering dome of energy this electrical field clearly is what it is. And there's, going back to our map, there's a perimeter wall that goes all around. This black line is a perimeter wall that goes around the park. It's about 30 meters high. And at the top of those 30 meters, and there's that shimmering field that, you know, comes up to the dome, the apex of the dome over the spire. And every few kilometers or so, there's these circular things, which are more of these electrical towers that are emanating this energy. Again, none of you, I don't think any of you really have heavy engineering. You have some Comtech, I think, in your group, but you know enough to say, wow, that must use a ton of power, you know, to create this thing. And it's 50 kilometers from one side to the other. So your flight, your plane's it probably takes maybe 5-10 minutes in the Cheyenne to go across this thing. And you come to the east side where there's this Weyland-Yutani base camp. There's several buildings, but towering on sort of the north side of the camp is a atmosphere processor, which also, you know, acts as a fusion generator. And it looks like this. And it's smaller than the one in Aliens, but it's of the same design. It's still a good 100 meters high. And there's a big communications tower on the top of it, you know, a big communications dish on sort of a tower. And it's all lit up, you know, like you see, it's got like, you know, lights to make sure you don't crash into anything. You even hear the pilot say, where's that damn beacon, you know, as you're coming in. And you fly over the base and you come into this landing pad. Let's take a minute and let's talk a little bit more about what Nublar looks like. So there's a handout towards the bottom. It's called Nublar, What's It Like? This is where you guys tell me what kind of place you want to have your adventure in. I will tell you, the terrain is, as I described, there's a mountain range on the west side. So that's sort of been established. The terrain is rocky with a lot of ravines. It's broken and rolling throughout. So that's kind of established. What else? Like I said, there's this tall spire in the middle. But beyond that, I want to get your input on what this place is like. So we have 4 bullet point items. There's 4 of you. So we're going to go around the table, and each of you will, you know, pick one and kind of flesh it out a little bit for us. And to give you a minute to read it and think about it, let me read it aloud for our viewers. As described, there is a mountain range on the west side and a tall spire in the middle. What else can you tell us about the terrain? Secondly, the climate and atmosphere can be tolerated for at least a few hours without any special gear. What else can you tell us about the climate and the atmosphere? Thirdly, what kind of foliage is predominant? And lastly, there's something dangerous about the area. What is it? Could be something with the air, the weather, geology, temperature, plants, insects, microscopic life, etc. I think we've rolled around to the top of our character list. Alan, you're going to be up first. Take a moment if you need to, gather your thoughts, but when you're ready, pick one and tell us what you think.
I noticed that, I'll go with the top one. I noticed that the map of the park has these kind of tram lines on them. And it would seem to be logical to put those tram lines along the top of ridges. So I'm going to suggest that the area inside here is broken, as you've described, but that the tram lines define ridge tops of some description and quite steep-sided valleys running down between them.
All right, that sounds good. And who's next? Will, tell us what one you want to tell us about.
There's the implication that the climate and atmosphere is not like Earth-like. Like it requires some kind of, if you were out here for a day, you would need some sort of equipment. Is that like?
I would say the only restriction I'm putting on it is that you can tolerate it for at least a few hours. It can be completely, perfect if you want. It can be Earth, if you want, or it can be kind of bad, but it can't be super bad.
I think maybe that maybe it's not pleasant over a long amount of time. Like there's some sort of trace gas in there that is missing that makes it harder the longer you're exposed to it. But it's so small that it's close to Earth. Because I like the idea of Weyland's private part. He's the richest man in the galaxy, right? So
Right.
why would he have a shake and bake, as they called it?
Right. Yeah, and it probably started near, usable, or I'm not sure what the right word is. The atmosphere started near, or something you could breathe.
Yeah.
And they have this atmosphere processor here, so it's probably been increasingly getting nicer over time. But there's still.
This is one of those better worlds he keeps talking about.
Right. Exactly. But there's still something over time. There, something might start to kind of. What do you think happens? Do you die? Do you get tired? Do you build up toxins?
I think that you start to hallucinate.
Okay.
Like it is a buildup of a, it's a trace gas kind of thing that like over time it will just, saturate your system and you'll start to just become more paranoid, hallucinations and things.
Right. And this is the first of many times I'll prove my lack of scientific knowledge with. There is some mystery gas that is not in the air that causes your brain, something your brain needs, that when it's gone, you can't get it. Chemical X, we'll call it. All right, Paul, we have 2 left. Which one would you like to talk about?
I'm going to go for the foliage.
Okay.
I think it's a moon. So it'd be unusual for it to have very standard gravity. So gravity is slightly less here, causing very sort of thin, spindly trees. They don't need massive trunks and they can grow very high. While the foliage is quite dense in places, there's a lot of still open space down at ground level.
Okay, so it's like there's these big thin trees that go way up and maybe have like a prominent canopy, but the actual undergrowth is pretty open. So you can. I'm trying to think what we have forests like that here. Maybe would an oak forest be like that, or would oak forest have a lot of undergrowth? I can't remember. Again, but lack of scientific knowledge.
Yeah, so not much undergrowth and very sort of thin trunks on these trees, but they still reach up very, very high.
Okay. Yep, I like that. And then the last one, Jamie, you don't get to choose. You have to tell us about what's dangerous.
Yeah, I was hoping I could pick that one, so I'm happy. So I would say, as you see us on the tram and the camera moves, there's this strange shimmer that seems to happen between the trees. And there's almost it's almost invisible, but it's sort of like webbing, and it's all prismatic, and you realize it's covering almost everything. And there's like an active crew that has to keep maintaining it, make sure that it doesn't. There's certain pockets where people have to make sure that it doesn't overgrow everything, and you can see like there's one part where they haven't gotten to it yet, and it's slowly eroding and melting away.
Is it a life form, or is it an energy, or a plant? What is this stuff, or is it something else altogether?
Yeah, I think it's a life form, but for us, like we think it's just spider webs, but it's actually its own distinct life form, sort of like a hive situation, where all the organisms gather and slowly eat away at things.
And unless it's, how do they get rid of it? Do they like just rip it away or burn it, or like how do they clear out an area?
Ooh. Yeah, I like the idea that they're carrying something that looks like a flamethrower, but when they turn it on, it's just this, how heat waves come out. So it's all transparent. You don't actually see, but you have this idea that they're burning it away with this special scientific
Do they,
stuff
instead
that I
of
don't have
using
a name
flame,
for
do they
also,
just like
but
use like heat, like to like, so they don't
yeah.
necessarily have to burn it. They just kind of kill it with heat itself. It's sensitive to that. Okay. And
Yeah.
if you don't take care of it, what does it do in the end run? Like, what's the result of like this getting kind of out of hand? You said it eats away
Yeah.
at all the plants?
Yeah, and I think what happens is it leaves behind this husk-like thing where it's almost glass-like and prismatic.
Okay. So it's kind of calcifies, not the right word, but it sort of transforms whatever it gets onto into this, would you call it again, a glass-like sort of substance?
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm doing that so we can leave behind pretty dead bodies,
Sure.
basically, if we're allowed to have
Sure.
them,
That'll work wonderful with like that, xenomorph resin, if there's xenomorphs here. All right, great. I like all of that. So I will, I'll integrate that in as best I can. Maybe today, my brain can only handle so much, but by next session, we'll have lots of this cool stuff into our descriptions. Okay, so you fly over and you come down for this landing, and the Cheyenne has these skids. It comes down to this nice, very professional landing. Sitka, you definitely appreciate the skills of this pilot, and the ramp in the back goes, and four of you walk out carrying your bags and your gear. And let me briefly at least show you a picture of this base. So you come down, here's the landing zone. Like I said, there's various different buildings here. This is the atmosphere processor with the comm dish on the top of it. There's the big wall there on the west side of this base. This building here is administration. It's a tall building, and then it has a second floor, which is this square. And then it has like a tower that goes from the top of the second floor and rises another 30 meters or so. And there's sort of a disc at the top, sort of like a CN Tower. If you guys know about Toronto, there's probably similar ones around the world. But anyways, it's like an air traffic controller disc at the top of that, towering over most of the buildings other than the atmosphere processor, and able to look over the wall. It definitely seems like a security tower kind of setup. And you land and you walk out and you see on the edge of the landing zone a truck, which looks like this. It's a lightly armored, maybe an eight passenger vehicle. It's running, but it's not making any noise. It clearly is an electrical vehicle. And you can see there's a driver. They've got like the window down, and they're at the seat, and the back of it is open. Like you get in, passengers get in through the back, and there's like stairs that have been set down, but it's not so big that you couldn't just jump up into it if you needed to. But just for polite purposes, there's little stairs that you can climb up into. And standing beside it is this man. This guy gives off corporate. He is well dressed. He's got a big smile. He's got expensive accessories, including his sunglasses. It's not particularly sunny, but he's got these sunglasses on. He's got a big smile. He's got business casual. He's standing there and he looks like he's about to, go ahead and approach you. And these drones come flying in. These little drones, they're about this big. They have no obvious means of propulsion. They clearly must have some sort of anti-grav technology, which again, for the regular people, that would be unheard of. But for the super rich, that's, within their ballpark of what they play with. And it's got these each of them has these little cameras on it. There's about a half a dozen of them, and they're zipping around and they're like getting up in your face and they're looking at you and they're clearly filming you. Which one of you think is bothered by this the most? Anybody?
Me.
Alan or Bryant. Bryant's
Bryant.
really bothered by it. Yeah.
Yeah,
What do we see that shows that?
I hit one.
Okay. So it kind of like it zips out of the way and you can't hit it. Like you try to, I guess you can make a roll, but we'll just say for narrative purposes, you try to, but it goes, bzz, right out of your incredibly agile and moves out of your way. But yeah, we see you kind of swiping at this thing. And like I said, Mr. Sunglasses looks like he's about to approach you, but another vehicle approaches at high speed and kind of like spins out and a guy jumps out of it. This is a smaller vehicle, what we'll call a Jeep. And again, it's an electrical vehicle. Like it makes a lot of sound, like on, driving on this asphalt in the road and stuff. But otherwise, it doesn't make any noise because it's electrical also. And it looks kind of like this. It doesn't have any.
As this thing is screeching towards us, I will stand between it and Darius.
Okay. It's actually not coming right up to you guys. It's actually going right up to where Mr. Sunglasses is. It's about 10 meters away from you. So clearly it drives up to him.
Things coming at me quickly.
Sure. So you take kind of a defensive posture, it sounds like. That sounds good. So it has no windows. It's wide open and a guy jumps out of it. And that's this guy. And he's all covered in mud, and this Jeep is covered in mud. Looks like he's had a rough time of it. It's about, by the way, it's about mid-afternoon. And this guy jumps out, and he's agitated, to put it lightly. And he goes right up to Mr. Sunglasses, and he starts giving him, a piece of his mind. He seems angry and all kinds of emotions. And at first, Mr. Sunglasses, it kind of like doesn't respond to him, but something gets him, and he starts to get agitated too. And they're kind of going back and forth with each other. So we're going to go ahead. I'm sure you're all curious what they might be talking about. So we're going to make another observation check. This time, we're going to do it the way the game intends, which is when multiple people are doing the same thing, one person makes the roll and the others are assisting. So what we need to, usually you want the person who has the best set of the biggest dice pool to make the roll, but it's really up to you guys. The only reason you wouldn't want the best person probably to make the roll is if they had a lot of stress and they don't want to panic. But in this situation, none of you has any panic yet. So go look at your character sheet and tell us how many dice you would be rolling for observation. So that would be taking your wits plus any skill and observation. We see 6 for Noah, 4 for Bryant, 4 for Sitka, and Darius. How many dice would you have on observation? Looks like Will's showing 4. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. No, it's the biggest.
All right. So Will is our most observant team member. So you're going to go ahead and make an observation check. But when it says modifier, put in a 3. You got 9 big dice going here.
Doesn't mean I can't miss all of them.
All right. 2 successes. I will tell you that 2 successes is enough to capture all of this conversation. You don't need to push. So you hear this man that's on the screen. He comes up and he says to Mr. Sunglasses, he says, "Cage, I'm telling you, these things are smart. They almost immediately started to hunt. I pulled my people out, but half of them haven't reported in." And Mr. Sunglasses, who apparently his name is Cage, he says, "Don't put your problems on me, Muldoon. All Mr. Whalen cares about is that this hunt goes as planned." And Muldoon, he starts waving around in his arms and gesturing, to the surrounding buildings and stuff. And he says, "You don't get it. They'll find a way. And then all of this bullshit that you think is so important, you can kiss that all goodbye." Cage pushes past Muldoon and he says, "Excuse me, you're hysterical. Whalen spent a fortune on this place. Nothing can get out." And then Muldoon storms off and he kind of yells over his shoulder, "I'm going to find my people, then I quit." And he jumps in the Jeep and he speeds off back, towards the base in the wall again.
I say to Darius, "Are you sure we want to be here, Darius?"
We need to be here, Brian, just to rub his nose in it that we beat him.
I get that, but But just in terms of your personal well-being, this company is nothing without you. And this sounds like some dangerous shit.
No, this company was nothing without her. Now that she's gone, I don't know how this company's going to continue. So let's enjoy what was offered. This was her dream. Dream was her dream. Let's just see how this goes. But I really want to rub his nose in it.
And I think I'm also looking. I'm trying to work out from Sitka what Sitka thinks of this, because she's a member of the crew and I am insecure around them. So I'm looking for signals. Noah, he's just a drug peddler. I don't care what he thinks.
Yeah, and I'm going to lean in and I say, I was excited about this, but I have a bad feeling that care officer earlier. I don't know. It feels like there's something rotten at the core here, but I'd like to see what it is. Maybe we can help.
Oh,
There's no way to talk about There's no way to talk about the richest man in the universe, Sitka. Rotten to the core. Everything's fine. It's just another. You can't. You guys are like old women, I swear.
And Mr. Sunglasses approaches you guys, and he sees you, swiping at the drone, Bryant, and being bothered by him. He says, don't worry about that. Mr. Whalen, he just likes to record the hunts. He finds that his guests really enjoy to have a memento to take home with them, to remind themselves of their adventure here. By the way, my name is Bill Cage. I am the hospitality director here at Nublar Park. It's my pleasure to meet each of you, especially you, Mr. Park. And he holds his hand out to shake your hand. And he says, I'm a huge fan. Don't tell Mr. Whalen. He kind of leans in, kind of conspiracy, whatever that word is. And he's like, leans into your personal space. He's like, I made a killing on your dream product. When that went public, the stock blew up. I cashed out on that big time. Don't tell Mr. Whalen, though. And he says, you must be Ramos. And he points at you, Bryant. And he says, you must be Emilson. And he points at you, Sitka. And whichever one I forgot, he points at the other person, says the wrong name. And he turns.
When he points at me and says, you're Brad, I say, Captain Brad.
Oh, right. Captain Bryant. Yes, of course. And he says, well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Let's get on board and let's get this adventure started. And he gestures for you guys to follow him over to the truck. And I assume you jump on in. And it's a short little drive. Maybe it takes a minute or so to drive from the landing zone over to, let me get back to our map. You're driving from the landing zone over to this lift. And it's this external lift. It's all glass lined, and it's pretty big. And he gets out and he leads you over to there, and you get into this lift, and it rises slowly up to the top of this 20-meter high building, this administration building. And he says, he points to the tower, which is, I guess, would be kind of to your side, depending on which way you're looking. And he says, that's the security tower. 24/7, we keep this place locked down. We've got electrical field. The fusion generator creates enough power to create electrical field that will kill anything that tries to get out of here. We've got drones and cameras watching everywhere. We've got plenty of staff covering, everything that needs to be taken care of. We've got underground tracks that allow these vehicles to travel underground to the various parts of the park without having to intrude on your hunt or to put the staff in any danger from the wildlife. This place is a incredible expense was spent by Mr. Whalen to make this place perfect.
So what was Mr. Muldoon talking about then? I want to try and manipulate Cage.
Okay. So at first he's like, oh, don't worry about that. He's excitable. We got some new animals in, and he's having a little bit of trouble with them. Do you want to push him a little farther to get that dice roll?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, he sounded slightly more agitated than that.
Sure. All right. So what we're going to do is for manipulation, what I want you to do, if you go under the folder called Mechanics, the second handout down is called Skills and Stunts. Open that up, scroll down towards the bottom till you see where it says Manipulation. And manipulation, in this situation, this is an opposed roll. So you're going to be using your manipulation against Bill Cage's. And there are modifiers based on the situation. That's why I wanted to open this up. If we scroll down a little farther, it has negotiating position. So let's look through this. You'll get a +1 if you have more people on your side. Is anybody else jumping in to try to like get Cage to tell you a little more what's going on?
Yeah. Let's push this guy.
Okay, what do you say that shows that you're on board with what Bryant's trying to do?
I'll point out that he mentioned stopping things getting out, and I'm going to say maybe Muldoon was concerned with things getting in.
Okay.
There's a lot of factors at play here.
Okay, so you guys will get the +1 because you have more people teaming up on them. What you're asking for doesn't cost your opponent anything. Nope, this will cost him if he spills the beans. They haven't suffered any damage. You haven't helped them. You present your case normally, so no modifier there. And let's see if you get any -1s. They don't have more people. What you're asking for, yeah, it's pretty dangerous. He doesn't want to tell you this. So you're going to get a -1 for that. And you're standing right next to each other, so no modifier for that. So you got an even roll. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll your manipulation skill, click that button, put in 0 on the modifier, and I'm going to do the same for Bill Cage. Bill Cage, as an executive, he has pretty good manipulation. All right, so what we do is we compare the results. So Bill Cage got 1 hit, you got none. So what you can do is you can push, though. If you want to take a point of stress, you can re-roll all your dice.
No, I'm going to infer from the fact that he holds up so well that actually there is something that he's hiding, but I don't know what.
Sure.
I'm going to push to that.
Yeah, he gives you a big pearly white smile and he says, "Oh, don't worry. Like I said, everything's locked down. Muldoon, every time we get new animals in, he kind of freaks out. But in the end, he gets it under control. He's the game warden. It's his job to make sure all the animals are where they're supposed to be. And we've gone through this every single hunt. Don't worry about it." And he gives you that big smile again. You guys get to the top of the lift comes to the top of this building, and you can see that there's a tram car here. And this tram car is about 20 meters long. It's mostly glass. It's got a little bit of metal, for the base of it, but it's mostly glass. It allows you all around viewing. And he leads you in there. Doors open, doors slide open on the side, and there's all of these comfy chairs lining each side, and they spin around. Give you all around view. And he gestures for each of you to sit. He takes a seat by the door, and he goes, "Well, here we go." And he pushes a button, and the door shuts, and the tram starts to move at pretty good speed towards the wall. And as it moves towards the wall, these massive steel doors slide open, coordinated with the movement of the tram. The tram, as the door opens, the tram goes to move through, and they start to shut, and it slams shut just as the tram goes through. And you are out into Nublar Park. you see behind you, as you're moving away, the base, and like I said, it has this massive wall that's about 30 meters high that goes all around, and it seems to be some sort of like reinforced concrete, but it has this covering on it, this like ceramic material that looks super, super smooth, like nothing could climb this, I'm sure. And it kind of curves inwards. So like even to make it even harder for things to climb out and up, it curves inwards. And like I said, at the top of it, there's this shimmering field that projects way up into the air. You start moving along at a pretty good clip. You're moving about 50 kilometers per hour. And Cage says, it'll take us about an hour to move across the park. We are on an elevated tram, and I think, Alan, from your description of the terrain, do you see the tram as being at ground level then, or is it? I'm imagining it as elevated, kind of above the ground, mostly for safety.
No, I think that this is elevated above the ground to allow it to travel quickly from A to B. I was thinking of the winding tramways that are in the map, unless I've misunderstood those.
Oh, the roads.
Oh,
those are roads, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they've got tram stations or something on them, but yeah. So those roads, I think, are on top of ridges. But I think this runs above all of this.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's elevated. It follows it's level, so it's elevated. And it's anywhere from 20 to 40 meters above the ground. It gives you good view, around you. I was going to switch maps. I went to the wrong place. So hold on. And you start moving across this park. We're going to make another observation check as you guys are looking around and see if you notice anything interesting. So we already learned that Will's character has the highest observation. So Will, you're going to do the same thing again. You're going to make an observation check with 3 extra dice. Okay, that's a good one. You got 3 successes, which will help you spot some cool stuff. Do you wish to push it and take a stress point and try to add even to that, or ride with what you got?
I think 3 successes is a decent amount of successes from my understanding of these games. So
Sure. So Cage is pointing things out to you as you ride across, and the first thing you come to, which is interesting, is right about here. You see the U with the little white square. And it looks like a bunker. It looks like a reinforced concrete bunker, like a trapezoid. And it's got big steel doors in front of it. And there's like an open area in front. And the green pathways kind of like lead off in different directions from it. And Cage says, well, I mentioned earlier that we have an underground, train, a subway, I guess, that, our vehicles can ride on. They have the ability to, they have railroad wheels that can retract or be deployed that allow our vehicles to travel underground. And this is one of the spots where they can come up. And we usually put our animal pens near to this. And he kind of points to you, like Sitka, he says, look over there. And you see the kind of like elevated, maybe about 100 meters away from this underground, entrance is an open field. And there's all of these cages, these steel cages, spread about this field. And these cages are huge, like big enough for like an elephant kind of size. And you can see that there's all kinds of animals sleeping inside of them. Some of them are empty, but a lot of them have these sleeping animals. But Sitka, you notice that, does anybody have any vision devices, any binoculars or anything? I don't remember if anybody chose any of that. Anything that would give them better vision? Okay, well, just say Sitka has great eyes, or, from being a pilot or something. So you spot that, those animals aren't sleeping, they're dead. They've got like a huge hole in their chest. And seeing all of these dead animals dying from this hole in their chest, you gain a point of stress. There we go. So yeah, you're going along and he's just talking. He's like telling you about these animals, and you notice this thing we're going to pause there, and you guys are going to tell me more about the animals of Nublar, the animals on your hunt. So we have another handout towards the bottom called Nublar the Animals. And again, for our viewers, I'll read it, and then also you guys can think for a minute. And there's only 3 of these, so only 3 of you guys are going to give me feedback on this one. Can't remember who went first last time when we did this kind of thing. I think Jamie went first last time. So I think Alan went first last time. And so Will is going to be first. Alan will sit this one out. But here's what we got. Give us some details on each of the 3 animals stocked for the hunt. Each is dangerous and more than capable of killing a human. Describe the creature, what makes it alien, and what it uses to kill. There's 3 zones in the camp. They're in red text on the map. Zone 1, 2, and 3. You guys are in zone 3, and this zone has been stocked with the behemoth. This is a massive and powerful herbivore, usually harmless and docile, but extremely aggressive and dangerous when afraid, startled, or injured. The triceratops, the elephant, or the rhino are examples. Then in zone 2 in the middle is the pack hunter. This is roughly human-sized or smaller. It is fast and smart. Small packs work together to take down bigger, faster, and stronger prey, the raptor, the wolf, or the killer whale. And then zone 1 is the flyer, smaller than a human, but still very dangerous. Excellent senses, ability to soar and dive, the pterodactyl or the eagle. So flesh one of these out for us. And like I said, I think, Will, you are up.
Okay. I'm going to go with the pack hunter, I think, for zone 2. And I think that is a kind of ape-like creature, but with what would it have? Like maybe you know how monkeys have got like feet and hands.
Yeah.
This is actually, it looks more like it's just got 4 arms. Like it's they're bent in the same way. They're all it's like a torso with 4 arms rather than 2 legs and 2 hands kind of thing. All of the same three-toed things that end in talons.
Do you reckon they've been engineered, Noah, or would you say they're natural?
I think that these are animals. These are not engineered, but they are animals that have been bred. Like they come from a like a form of xenolife that's sort of on one of the colonies, and now they've been bred in captivity to be to be hunted, maybe even.
I imagine they would be incredibly agile and dexterous with 4 arms. I would guess. Yeah,
I mean, I'm thinking of the whole kind of like, Tarzan and the monkeys kind of like thing, but kind of more like bigger and muscular and like predatory, almost like a mix between like a baboon and a monkey. Like
okay.
Well, they're slightly lower gravity, so they could be significantly bigger.
Yeah, they didn't evolve here because Waylon, he brings these animals to this planet. So they're animals that can survive on this planet, but they haven't evolved on this planet. It's something to keep in mind. But yeah, they probably enjoy this because they're climbers, they're fast moving, and they can really go at it in this environment with these trees and the lower gravity. Okay, I love that. Let's move on to Paul. What one do you want to take a shot at?
You do, Jason. I'm just curious. What it uses to kill.
Oh, okay. Sounds like you said you had talons on its toes, its fingers.
Yeah, they have talons. I think that they are like just they're pack hunters, right? So they attack as one, like they grapple their targets and just rip them apart.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, Paul, which one do you want to take a shot at?
I'm going to go for type 1, the herbivore.
Okay.
And this creature is called the Slig. It's a Weyland-Yutani cross between a pig and a slug. It's a massive creature. easily sort of single-story house size, and it slowly roams about that area. And Wayland is looking at this as some future food source to feed the starving masses. And we've all heard rumors in our circles of, slig meat.
Okay. Does it have bones, or is it kind of like jellyish, like a slug?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it's the low gravity allows it to be very big in size, but yeah, cartilage, and I think it kills or it dissolves plants, and maybe with enough sort of time and spittle and stuff, it could possibly dissolve a person, if not just by sheer force of crush.
Okay. So it already has like some acidic aspects to its biology.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
And more mucus already.
Right. All right. It sounds wonderful. I can definitely play with that. And then Jamie, you're going to tell us about the flyer.
Yeah, so I have a picture. Content warning. It's pretty creepy. It's a fish, but it looks creepy. But I'm putting it in the chat. So it's small, right?
Yeah, I'm imagining it's smaller than a human, but still big enough to kill a human. Think of it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And so, like, I'm seeing its body. It looks like a mix of a fish and a chameleon, and it can wrap around things. It can try to meld in with the background. I don't think it's as perfect as the pack hunter. And then from there, it can leap up. But when it does, it sort of has to open its mouth wide in order to catch the air.
And it can fly. How does it fly? What does it use?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a flying squirrel, except it uses its mouth. So it like opens up wide, and there's this huge rainbow color situation. And you can see all its tiny little teeth.
Okay. I haven't looked at the picture, but I will. Can you, if you guys put any pictures in the chat, could you put them on our Hangout too? That way we'll save them for, once we leave today, we won't lose it, when the chat disappears. I don't know if the StreamYard keep your chat. I don't think so when you sign out. So yeah, put those on the Hangout for me. I'll definitely look at them and think about them a lot.
I will try and put them in the notes as well from the relevant place.
Great. All right. So you see these cages here that you're passing by is the sligs, the giant sligs, and they have these huge holes in them, these gaping holes, like I said. And you go zooming by. Do you think Ramos Sitka says anything or does anything about this observation, or just keeps quiet?
Oh wait, sorry, Sitka. Yeah. I think definitely Sitka is going to lean towards Bryant and say, I think something's wrong. Those animals, they're all dead. There's something's attacked them. I don't know if they took them all out, but I have a really bad feeling about this.
And I think Bryant will look blank from them and say, yes, I saw that. Yes. Darius, have you seen that?
And Darius will be he clearly wasn't paying much attention at all to Mr. Glasses or anybody. But as soon as Bryant sort of mentions his name, he'll sort of peek up and go, "See what? What are we talking about?"
Over there. Getting in before Sitka can say I saw so and so. Bryant gets in and says, "Over there. Do you see that? Look at the side of that huge slug thing."
I think I'll turn to Mr. Glasses and say, "What the fuck has done that?"
He says, I don't know. I don't really keep track of what the animals, how they work. I don't know. Maybe it's part of their physiology. I'd have to ask Muldoon about it. Maybe that's what he was all up in arms about. Don't worry about it, though. Whatever it is, it shouldn't be any threat to you guys. What's that?
We are worried about it.
Well, the hunt, it's not fun if it's not dangerous, right?
What are we going to hunt if they're all dead?
Well, we released the ones for your hunt already. They're roaming around here somewhere. Um, I don't know what to. Maybe that's how they reproduce or something. I don't know.
Yeah. See, don't have to worry, guys. We won't go back without a prize. I know that's what you're after.
Yeah, but so far I haven't seen anything to hunt. This is all that we've seen. So this could end up being a very boring trip. Maybe this is a ploy by Watani to stop R&D development on our product by just offering us to get us out here, show us absolutely nothing.
Well,
Just
I
waste.
mean, look, I'm not a hunter, but I mean, again, they're not fun to hunt if they're just stand there and you can see them. I mean, you got to hunt them, right? I mean, they hide, they slink around, whatever, they lurk. I mean, that's kind of what you do, right? You find them and shoot them, and they got to be dangerous, they got to be sneaky. I mean, that's the fun, right? Um,
But
but,
you're
but
on warning. You're on a warning, Mr. Glasses.
okay, yeah, fair enough. I'm here to please. Uh, you are right though. You don't see any animals actually around. You don't see any live animals. You would think that, especially the sligs, like they're herbivores. They probably like have herds, maybe. They should be slinking around eating plants, right? And you don't see any live ones around. You do see a couple flyers in the distance as you travel across the park, but that's about it. You pass by the spire, and you also, I think. Seems like Bryant's probably pretty attentive. So you notice, Bryant, that there are on the spire, there are lots of cave openings at different levels, natural cave openings at the ground level, at various points along the side, and even way up at the peak, you can kind of see a couple little cave openings there as you pass by. But nothing else stands out about that. You guys, after the hour, the tram slows down and it approaches a platform at the end, the western side now of the camp. And it's an all glass, like wall, like half wall, and goes up and covers like an awning. And the tram kind of goes in there, and the doors open. And Bill Cage says, "Well, this is as far as I can go. The staff's not allowed to go any farther. All you need to do is take the elevator, and you see there's a big elevator, that goes down. You're in this elevated landing. Take the elevator, or if you want, you can take the stairs, and go about a kilometer west. And he points out this path, this wide path with like all these fitted, colorful stones, very well done. And he says, follow that path for about a kilometer, and you'll get to the chalet. And you see, you don't worry about the road that leads to one of our underground stations. Go a couple kilometers that way, I guess, if you want to. But head to the chalet. It's getting to be about like later in the afternoon, so it's not quite twilight. But he says, it'll get dark soon. My suggestion is head for the chalet and check it out, relax. Mr. Whalen will catch up with you guys in the morning. Is there anything else I can do to help you before I take off?
Fully stocked, I guess. Like, we've got medical supplies, recreational, whiskey.
Absolutely. Fully supplied.
And is there any help? Or do we have to serve ourselves? Roughing it out here on the frontier?
That's above my pay grade. I'm not really sure who or what is in the chalet. I know it's kept supplied, but what's there, like I said, is not really for me to know.
Wow. Must be real elite if the director of hospitality doesn't even know who the hired help is.
Yeah, Mr. Whalen likes to keep things hush hush, I guess, sometimes. And he says,
Just going to grab a quick bio, if that's.
I'm sorry, what was that? Yeah, let's take a break. So they leave you on this platform, and he takes off. And let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back and pick up. 11:25 or so. How's everybody doing so far? Good. All right. So the door is shut. The tram goes speeding away back east, leaving you in this elevated area. You see the broken ground around you. There's those tall, spindly trees that probably even go higher than where you're at now. Maybe they even kind of push up right up on the edge of this glass, the canopies of them. It's late afternoon. And about what the what's the let's see, whose turn is it? I guess it's Paul. Paul, what what temperature do you think it is here?
I think it's quite warm and humid.
Okay. Tropical?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're standing there, start to sweat a little bit coming out of the AC of the tram, and like I said, there's an elevator door off to the side, and then there's a smaller like a fire escape stairwell kind of thing. But otherwise, it's quiet and nothing else is here.
I'll go ahead and open the door for Darius.
To the elevator or the stairwell?
Yeah, elevator.
Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Noah brushes past, and goes, "Thanks, Brian."
And Bryant will go in before Sitka, so he's not last in.
Okay, we've established our marching order. You guys get in the elevator, you ride down, it moves slowly down, gives you a panoramic view of the outside. Like I said, it's very quiet. Not really even any birds chirping or anything like that you might expect. You get down to the bottom, and like I said, not a few feet away, you see the beginning of this this pathway of fitted stones, colorful fitted stones. Somebody did an incredibly good job of creating this pathway that leads off to the west. There's one of these rough two tracks, these tracks for the vehicles, that leads off into the jungly area off to, I believe it's the north, but you were directed to head up that colorful path. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I will follow Darius's lead, obviously.
Sure. You guys walk along, and about let's see, probably about 15 minutes or so to cover a kilometer. Does that sound right? I'm an American, so we don't use kilometers usually. Walking along, you get to, you can see the cliff wall, where you get, where you start, and it gets closer and closer and closer, and you can see that that building that you saw as you flew in is more clear, and it looks kind of like this. The picture I found gives you a feel for it. It doesn't exactly look like this, but it has this flavor. This is what I call the chalet. So it's up on this cliff, and it sounds like we would have trees and stuff around, probably up on this cliff, similar to the picture. So it's up there several hundred meters, but you get to the end of this path and it ends into the cliff wall. And at the base of the cliff wall are these massive steel doors that have sort of like a keypad off to the side, and a little a screen. And as you approach this, laser, I don't know, a light, I guess, it kind of goes and kind of like scans you guys as you approach, and it's you see the screen green, the screen blinks green, and these doors open. You guys pass inside,
And I look around. Wow, this looks absolutely amazing. I guess we go pick rooms.
Sure. You go inside and you enter a large room that looks like kind of like a locker room, but very very expensively laid out, fine wood furnishings, And on the walls are all kinds of like mounted heads that you would, hunters like to collect, and including the animals that are on your hunt. So we see a big slig, at the far end of the hall, mounted way up. And whatever we call these horrible fish creatures, we see one of those mounted along another wall. And the third thing I forget. Oh yeah, the horrible ape monkeys. Maybe it's all stuffed and put in like a imposing. Yeah, exactly, Alan. And let me find the map for this place. And there's rows of these cubicles. And you see there's a real big one that has your name on it, Darius. There's a very fancy little sign that says Darius Park. And then there's others nearby that have each of your other names. And the cubicles are empty, but there's plenty of room for all of your gear and equipment and all that stuff. Actually, they're not empty. I'll get back to that in a minute. And then there's all these other cubicles around. Most of them are empty, but there's like scattered bits of things here and there. And there's some open cabinets. It's not terribly tidy. It looks like people have just kind of left things behind or left things, half put away. And at the end of this hall, there are two doors. One is clearly an elevator door and one's a stairwell. And then there are two doors that say very clearly, no admittance. They have little keypads next to them and a little screen, but they clearly are said, no admittance. In each of your cubicles, you do find some things that you guys can add to your character sheets if you want. Let me open that up for you. This is called the Chalet Cubicles. So if you look under Finding Stuff, the folder in your handouts, there should be one called the Chalet Cubicles. And this is the stuff that's in each of your cubicles. So now that we've defined a little bit of what the park is like, the clothing is probably not armor, but it's probably like waterproof. Sounds like kind of a wet place, I'm guessing. So there's probably like ponchos or waterproof clothing that you can wear. There's, it does sound like maybe there's like a little respirator in there that you can, will give you a couple hours of air. So if you take a respirator, add it to your equipment, it won't have any weight, but it'll give you some air. And let's talk about air. Air is actually what we call a consumable in this game. So if you open your character sheet in the bottom left, there are the different types of consumables. One of them is air. And if you take a respirator, add it to your character sheet, and put a 4 in that little circle there next to air, that's how many units of air you have. We'll talk about using it if need be. Some of you might have power numbers in that circle. It works similarly. The power is some piece of equipment you have that must use power. But yeah, so if you take a respirator, you got some air. There's supplies of food and water if you guys want to take any of that. There's 2 reloads for any weapon that you may already have. They must have known you were coming and what you would be bringing. So if you want to add 2 reloads to any weapon that you have, you're free to do that. Ammo doesn't have any weight, so there's really no reason not to, I suppose. There's a head. Go ahead.
I'm assuming that because I've got that EVA pistol, that I come with
the power for you is actually the I think you have a motion tracker. Oh yeah, I was thinking about that. It seems like a laser pistol would use power, but for some reason this game it doesn't. It must have a power pack, but it must be different than the normal power pack. It must be specified just for this pistol. So a reload for you is some sort of power pack, but it'll play the same as any other reload.
Fine.
And then there's a little bit of rope because all adventures require rope. And it has a little bit of weight.
So we are on a hunt.
Yeah.
I realize it's not in the cubicles, but do we have any indication of we're not going hunting with just Brian's EVA pistol, I imagine?
No. Yeah, it is funny that there's no weapons here, isn't it?
I think that's what I'll call out. Like, I guess we're supposed to hunt with these rations or something.
Right. And you guys, like I said, there are other cubicles and kind of scattered stuff around. If you want to spend a few minutes looking around, you certainly can do that also.
Before we do that, do we put some points into food and water on the basis of the food and water we've been given?
You do, but I'll take care of that between sessions. Just write food and water on your sheet, and I'll take care of it from there. Yeah, but that's what you see. Like I said, you certainly can look around a little more if you please.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I shall look around for Darius.
Sure. Anybody that's looking around, spending what we call a turn, 5 to 10 minutes to look around, can go ahead and I think it's an observation check. Yes, it is. Make an observation check.
Yeah, Noah, I'll assist you.
Okay.
'Cause, I feel sorry for you. You seem a little nervous, so I'll be there to help you.
On this occasion, this is another one where we won't do a group roll. So if you're looking, just make your own individual roll. So, Jamie, that sounds like you're looking around too. Let's see what people are getting here. So Brian got nothing. Noah got nothing.
Mm-hmm. I would like to push though.
Okay. Add a point of stress. Reroll. Sitka's panicking for some reason.
So what do I do to reroll? Okay,
you would add a point of stress. So on your stress track, highlight one of those buttons, then do the exact same roll.
Okay.
And Jamie, go ahead and roll the panic button for me to see how badly you stress out. You got a 7. You rolled a 6. What is it about this situation that is stressing you out, do you think?
Yeah, as I look around, I start to hear this voice, and I know it's not real. And I stop and say, oh, not now, no, everything is fine, not now. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a younger version of myself running around, hiding, trying to find a place to hide.
Okay, I like it. So you start to have, if you guys look at the mechanics folder, there's a handout called, what do I call it? Panic table towards the middle. And you got a 7. So a 7 is a nervous twitch. Your stress level and the stress level of all friendly PCs in short range increased by 1. So all of you guys gain a point of stress. Seeing Sitka kind of talking to themselves a little bit and acting strangely.
Pull yourself together now.
Does anybody have Sitka as a rival? I forgot. If it's a rival once per session, you might as well do it now because we're not going to play too much longer. You can go ahead and ignore, that's a cascade effect that just happened. You can ignore that once per session. So Alan, if you don't want to, you can ignore that point of stress that, because you don't like her that much anyways.
No, I don't. And in fact, I want to ball her out. Get a grip. Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Sitka's like not responding. Like she's just standing there twitching. It takes her a moment and she shakes her head. No, it's fine. It's nothing. It's just nerves. I'm just
It is not
to
fine, pilot. Stand up straight. Get your head in the game.
Noah comes will take Sitka's shoulder and be like, yeah, okay, Captain, we got it, all right. Like,
Hamilton, back off.
No, look,
Noah,
we're not in the car anymore, Brian. Right?
Sort her out now.
Yeah, I got it, Chief. No worries. Okay.
Something has gone wrong here. Look at the crap scattered all over this place.
Yeah, I did think that Wayland would have higher standards, but
yeah, are cleaners too much to ask for? Clearly not. I'm really spooked by those 2 locked doors. Whichever you guys hear is good with electronics. Let's get that front off. And let's get those doors open.
Give it a go. Sure. But I did get 2 successes on mine.
You did.
So I was thinking I came across with the stuff to be like, hey, look, I got these things, stop yelling at each other.
So, Will, what you can do, I've opened up a new handout in that Finding Stuff folder called Found Equipment, the Chalet. and you're in the foyer. So what you've done, you've gotten 2 successes. So there are 2 tables. There's a basic items table. There's a rare items table. You can, with your successes, the first success is going to allow you to roll on a table. You can use the second success to just pick something off the base item table or the basic item table. Instead of rolling, you can just pick something off that list. Or you can upgrade your discovery to a rare item, in which case you would roll on the rare item table. Or you could roll twice on the basic item table. So you have 3 choices.
Okay.
Take a look at that.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to roll on. There's 2 things I definitely don't want on the rare item table. Yeah, screw it. I'll go for the rare item table.
All right, roll a d6 for me. Tell me what you get, because I'm looking somewhere else.
Oh, I got 6, which is the thing I did not want. Right.
You know what? You're absolutely right. Why don't you do a reroll? I feel generous.
Thank you.
What'd you get?
Elephant gun.
Elephant gun.
I think that's as I came across. Like, oh well, they didn't leave.
Right. So you find kind of mounted on the wall. It's a little dusty, but this massive shotgun. It's an elephant gun. It's an oversized shotgun, and there's stats and stuff on it there. Put it on your character sheet. It's got it's a single shot, or give it to someone else.
I shove it into Bryant's arms as I take Sitka away from to shut him up. I'm like, here, I found this. It's your thing, right, Captain?
You see, what I'm curious, because what I wanted to use my command for was to stop Sitka panicking.
Oh,
yeah, you can do that. Well, let me. The way that you would use that if she had an ongoing, if she had an ongoing effect. So this is just sort of this momentary thing, she's trembling, but there's no lingering effect of this other than the stress.
Okay.
If she had,
so she didn't lose control.
Yeah, it's a good idea, but in this case, you wouldn't actually use that for this. So you got this elephant gun. Whoever ends up with it, just scribble elephant gun. I'll take care of the stats and stuff between sessions. There's one other thing I need to do real quick.
I will, of course, offer it to Darius first.
And I'll thank you for it, Bryant, but I'll pull out of its packing case my assault rifle and say, I think I'll go with more modern technology. But you're more than welcome. Thanks.
Okay.
One moment. Let me take care of one thing. Where is that?
So do you feel better now? You've got a big gun, Brian.
It's not about the size.
All right. So you look around, you find this big gun, and Sitka's having a moment. What's next?
Well, I mean, we surely we should take, because what we don't know yet is whether there's any stuff up in the lift up, because there's a lift up to the kind of living area, isn't there?
Why don't we find the kitchen? I'll make something. We can have some drinks, wait until morning.
Okay. Sounds like you guys head over to the elevator, take a ride.
Because it was dusk when we got off the tram, wasn't it?
Right. It's getting there. Yep.
Yep. I'd like to actually find Noah by himself, and I'm going to ask Noah. I don't like sleeping in new places, so I wouldn't mind some fentanyl or something nice and strong, so I can sleep well tonight.
Sure thing, boss. I've got a nice mix. It'll be perfect. You'll wake up feeling fresh as a daisy, ready for the hunt.
Superb.
Pull out my little black box of goodies.
Right. So
I
yeah,
need to really sleep like the dead. I don't want to dream. Don't want to know anything. Just out like a zombie.
Sweet oblivion, boss. That's what I promise.
Superb, my man. Superb.
I'd like a moment with Darius just before, because I know he has these difficulties since my sister died, his wife died, and so I'll take. I'll say again.
Brian, my brother. How can I help?
Well, look, I know you haven't been sleeping well, Darius. Have you got? Have you brought your camera rig? Because Jason, stop me if I'm wrong here. I think you mentioned that Darius might have his marine armor or whatever.
that's right. He has marine armor, which has like in Aliens. You know how they have like mounted cameras
Yeah.
and a headset.
Because I brought a PDAT, which means that we could monitor the camera just to make you feel more secure in this place.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, while I'm sleeping, it's nice to have some security running.
Yep.
So you can put that wherever you like, and I will promise faithfully to monitor the PDAT.
Okay.
Sure. Let's set it up by the entranceway. We never know what Wayland and his cronies have got access. So probably by these two doors. The up and the elevator and the stairwell. Let's sort of set up monitoring that.
So the one at the entrance level, the one at the foyer, the top of the level we're on, the top levels.
You guys are riding. Okay, so you're imagining you have two cameras, like shoulder-mounted cameras on the armor. You're taking one off, mounting it here in the foyer, watching the doorway, and you're carrying the other one upstairs with you. And you have them both linked into your PDAT.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
It's a good call, Brian. Like it. Where would I be without you?
So you guys,
you'd be fine, Darius.
You guys get on this big like cargo elevator, and it has like a reproduction of like an English fox hunt sort of paintings, showing all the guys in like the white pants and the red coats and the little hats, and there's a fox and lots of hounds running around. It's very 19th century British, and you ride up this elevator, and it opens up into the chalet proper. The chalet has sort of an open setup. You come in on, are you guys on this map? I think you are. It opens up on this like entry level that looks like, let me get this stuff out of my way. The entry level, like this. And it's very sparse and Spartan, but very classy, very expensive. Lots of windows, giving you pretty views. It's warm and pleasant in here. Maybe there's a fire in the. I guess there isn't a fireplace, but anyways, and you smell a really nice aroma of something cooking. Whose turn is it? Me, I think Jamie went last. I think Alan, it's your turn. Alan, what is it that you smell? Smells good.
I think probably something roasting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm imagining that it's kind of de rigueur that you have something that's been hunted. So maybe it's slig.
Okay, delicious slig. Right. So you smell that, maybe it has some, I don't know, mushrooms and onions or something that goes with it. And you have that aroma. And there's some like soft, classical music playing in the background, and this, you get off the elevator and this woman walks up to you. She comes down from the upper level, the lounge level, I think I call it, and she approaches you. She walks with incredible elegance, unearthly elegance, like a dancer, and she's holding a large tray that has like a big pitcher of water and a bottle of very expensive wine and glasses and for the water and also the wine. And she approaches you and she kind of like bows her head and she looks at you blankly and just kind of stands before you.
Hello? Are you we're the guests?
And she moves her eyes and looks at you, but she doesn't say anything.
It's a synth.
Those things give me the creeps. No offense, boss.
None taken. None taken at all. Robots should look like robots.
And without a word, she sets it down on a tray and she turns around and she, again, elegantly walks back up these open stairs to, just a few stairs that go into the upper level, the lounge level, which you can kind of see from where you're at. And, just kind of to get this out in the air, I'll just kind of jump ahead and show you the lounge level. It doesn't look exactly like this, but it's this kind of style. There's a kitchen area and an open bar with everything fully stocked, very expensive. There's one of the wall, towards the cliff side is all a one piece of glass, and there's a door that leads out to a kind of a slim balcony that overlooks the camp far below you. So that's this lounge area, and then there's a lower level which you probably will explore eventually, which has a bunch of like bedrooms. And each bedroom, many of them have windows, especially there's like a corner bedroom, which is, has another little sign on it that says park. And many of them have windows that look out across the cliff, out across, into the park. And that hallway for the lower level looks a little bit like this. It's a little darker. And there at the end of the hallway in this lower level, there's another one of these doors that says no admittance. And these no admittance doors, they're more solid, they're more steel, like, security doors. Tell me a little bit of what you guys do now that you've arrived at the chalet.
I follow Darius's lead.
I'm going to grab a bottle of whiskey, line up 4 shot glasses, pour a big line of whiskey, hold it up and say, ladies, gents, to your effort, to your sister's effort, to my wife's effort, to dream that got us here. And as we go down it, I'll say, Noah, watch yourself. This is real man's drinking here. Soldier drinking. So watch yourself. And I would like to activate my banter move on that comment and have a little bit of soldier banter play with Noah and the others. And banter allows me to remove 2 stress, I believe.
That's right. So usually when you spend a turn relaxing, you certainly are all relaxing now, you would lose 1 point of stress, but Darius has a talent that allows him to have banter, and you would lose 2 stress every turn with him doing his thing. So everybody can remove 2 points of stress if you have any. And I think it's a good dramatic moment. The clock says we're about done for today. So I think what happens is, the bar will say is sort of like up against the window. And Darius, you have lined up these glasses on a table that's near the window, and you're facing the rest of them. So you guys are looking out the window, and Darius has his back to the window, toasting and saying nice things, bantering with you guys. And the three of you see this flash of something large and black come zooming at the window at high speed. It rams right into the window. The glass is incredibly sheer, by the way. It's like at my house, sometimes birds unfortunately fly into our windows. It's like that. It slams into it as though it doesn't even see the window. It leaves a smear of some sort of greenish fluid on the window. And at the very moment that it hits the window, it has this tail, this bony tail that whips out, and it has a stinger at the end of it, this sharp, bony stinger that pierces right through the window, and it just scratches Darius on the back of his neck. And the creature falls away. It's sort of like all stunned and bewildered, and it leaves that smear, this green slime on the window, and it kind of backs away, and you kind of you see it tumble, disappear out of your sight as it tumbles, downwards. And Darius, you feel incredibly nauseous and dizzy all of a sudden. And what do you do?
I think I'll wipe the sort of back of my neck, look at my hand, and say, "Son of a bitch!"
Right. And there's some, yeah, exactly. There's some green slime there, and he topples over. His whiskey bottle, or whiskey falls to the ground and crashes. And I think that's where we'll stop for today.
Great finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good, really good.
Yeah, I at first I was like, when you got off the tram, I was like, well, should I do it now? And I'm like, no, you got like a half hour. Let's see what happens. And then I needed you guys to get somewhere where it made any sense for this thing to get to you. So the fact that you quickly moved up in the elevator into the chalet gave me my opportunity. So that worked out good. All right. So I think that's it for today. Any questions or thoughts or anything?
You did tell us to remind you about NEXP.
That's right. All right. So we got three things. First of all, let's do the XP. So there is a handout on Roll20 called Advancement. It's the very last one. If you click that open, Alien has a slightly more sophisticated experience system, but I've designed one that works better for just what we're doing. So at the very top of this advancement handout, it says, if you survive a session, you gain one skill. You add one to any skill that you've used in our session. I think all we've used is observation. I guess manipulation. We use some. I think Alan, you used manipulation. Everybody else has used observation. I can't remember if we did anything else. I don't think so. So most of you guys are going to get a point of observation, which is a very good skill to build up anyways. And Alan, you have a choice. Just add. Go ahead.
I'll stick with observation.
Okay. If you survive a session, you decide whether if you want to change your buddy and rival situation with anyone. Given the events today, do you feel like any of that has changed?
Not for me. I feel I'm settling into that buddy and rival.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is, if you survive 2 sessions, you can gain a new talent, but we'll have to wait on that until next time. So that's advancement.
So quick question. So I used observation. My observation was 1. Do I now change that to 2?
That's right. And then the other thing, is everyone comfortable us making this public? Is anyone not comfortable? Okay. So I will post this on the Gauntlet and people can check it out. Now, I haven't decided if I'm going to do this, but let me air this out now. I'm also a member of the Alien Facebook group, which is a pretty active Facebook group for crazy people like me that love Alien. And I'm thinking of maybe posting these there also. Would you guys be comfortable with that? If not, that's perfectly fine. Is anyone not comfortable with me putting it also on the Facebook group? All right, so I may or may not do that, but I'll assume from what you're saying, it sounds like you're okay with it either way. All right. Well, thank you guys. I will see you again next Sunday, early for me and different hours for you guys. Hope you had fun. Have a good week. And bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you so
Yep,
much.
bye then.
Mhm.